On St. Patrick's Day of 1990, a young girl was going to meet her mother at a park to go sell pancake breakfast tickets for her softball team at 3 p.m. Unfortunately, she never showed up, and what happened to her is absolutely sickening. This is the case of Rachel Hurley. Hello, friend, and welcome to High Time Crime. My name's Joel, and on here I specialize in true crime and also making friends with leprechauns. Where's the pot of gold? But today, we're going over the case of Rachel Hurley and what happened to her on St. Patrick's Day of 1990. You're going to learn about a sweet young girl whose life was robbed for no reason. For our story, we're heading to Jupiter, Florida. It's a town about 84 miles from Miami. It's believed that the Spanish named the area Hove after the native residents, the Hope Bay Indians, and a mapmaker misunderstanding the spelling. But the British had came in and changed everything around and named the town Jupiter, and that's what it is today. In 1990, the town had a population of 28,055 people exactly, and there were a ton of things for people to do. Young teens loved gathering together and hanging out around town at local ice cream shops, schools, and just random spots. One of those spots was Carlin Park, and something absolutely awful happened there. Rachel Karen Hurley was born on October 14th of 1975 in Englewood, New Jersey, to Andrea and Daniel Hurley. She had an older sister named Erica, and they got along very well. Rachel's family moved to Jupiter, Florida in 1984 when she was about 9 years old. She was described as being feisty, outgoing, popular, and athletic. In 1990, Rachel was 14 years old, and at the time an 8th grader attending Jupiter Middle School. Her dad, Daniel, was actually a teacher here and was looked at as one of the best guidance counselors, teachers, and track coaches. Rachel was always doing silly antics, and as her mother said, was a force to be reckoned with, a charmer, someone that could start with a quarter, travel the world, and return home with change. Rachel was kinda sassy, but strong-willed, and she had a beautiful, bright smile. She loved to sing Sweet Child O' Mine by Guns N' Roses while dancing with her friends. She said that she was going to grow up to become a fighter pilot because of one of her favorite movies, which was Top Gun. Rachel was close with her sister Erica, and together they'd play Barbies and watch The Brady Bunch, Charlie's Angels, and Little House on the Prairie. They'd pretend to be characters in the show and dress up. Most girls would look up to Rachel, listen to her, and do what she wanted because she was viewed as a leader. Some of her closest friends referred to her as Miss Sassy Pants. This included Sherry Duff, Erin Lodeson, and Maddie Bear Weckenman. Sherry said that it was either Rachel's way or no way, and that she couldn't help but love her. Everyone loved her. Well, a few weeks before, the girls were together, and think of your typical late 80s to early 90s teenage girls. They wanted adventure, and so only a few weeks before that fateful day in March, the group of friends decided to play with a Ouija board while they were at a slumber party. Well, one of the questions just so happened to be, who will be the first one to die? And the arrow ended up spelling out Rachel. Rachel, being the sassy girl that she was, yelled back, "Then do it, bitch," as the group of girls laughed and played along, and then they asked for a sign. All of a sudden, the house alarms went off and they lost it. They were spooked, especially after a few weeks passed and what happened. Let's talk about it. On March 16th of 1990, it was a regular Happy Friday at Jupiter Middle School. Rachel was looking forward to a sleepover at her friend Maddie's house with Erin and 2 other girls. Maddie was the new girl in school as she had just moved to Jupiter from New York. Rachel had went home after school packed her pajamas for the sleepover, and also packed her favorite pink hairbrush and a towel because she was going to go to the beach the following day. She wasn't actually going to go to the beach. We'll get into that in a moment. That's where her parents and her friends' parents thought that they were going to be, and it's kind of the truth. The girls were going to go to the beach, but on a boat with two guys. Like I said earlier, they were teenagers looking for a little bit of adventure. So later into the night, Rachel arrived at Maddie's house, and all of the girls began talking about how excited they were for their plan the next day. They started dancing around to some music, specifically Patience and Sweet Child O' Mine by Guns N' Roses. Pretty good taste, but then all of a sudden, the doorbell rang. The boys showed up, and now it was time for all of them to watch a movie. Aaron and everybody else wanted to watch a scary movie released in 1982 called Basket Case. It's about a young man who seeks vengeance on the doctors and nurses who performed an unwanted surgery that separated him from his deformed conjoined twin brother. Interesting, but the group watched the movie and they also had some pizza delivered. Rachel was having a lot of fun. She was a bit creeped out by the movie, but overall the night was going great. After the movie, the girls said goodnight to the boys, and then Maddie's dad took the boys back home. The girls went to sleep, pretty spooked by the movie they had just watched, not knowing what was going to occur the next day. By the next morning, March 17th of 1990, or St. Patrick's Day, it was a cloudy day, the weather was bad, and no one was really on the beach. While Aaron, Maddie, and the two other girls were getting ready, Rachel was on the phone with some other friends. Once they were ready to leave, Rachel yelled out, "Shotgun," which means that she got to sit in the front seat. When Rachel said this, Aaron said that she talks too much. Rachel begged Maddie's dad to stop by Dunkin' Donuts, and he just couldn't say no to her. Maddie's dad then dropped the girls off at the Jupiter Inlet after breakfast. They had to make it back to Carlin Park by 3 p.m. to meet their parents. The girls ran to Zeke's Marina to meet the boys, and they went as fast as they could. When they all met up together, they then piled 7 people deep into a 12-foot Boston whaler to go wakeboarding and just enjoy the day. It was the 5 girls who had the slumber party at Maddie's and 2 boys. Rachel got on the wakeboard and she fell off, but overall, she was having a great day with her friends. All of them were. The group was getting a little ahead of themselves when they realized that it was time to go back at around 2:45 p.m. Rachel needed to meet her mom at 3 p.m. to go sell pancake breakfast tickets for her softball team. Aaron's mom was going to pick her and Maddie up at about 3:30 p.m., so they were okay on time. Well, the boat docked and everyone got off and the boys parted ways. Rachel grabbed her pink hairbrush, her towel, and she had on a white t-shirt with boys' blue gym shorts. She then said she's got to go. Aaron said to just wait for them because Maddie has to use the bathroom. Rachel then said, "I can't wait. My mom's waiting. I have to go." She turned around, her hair flipped, and she took off running. Aaron and Maddie then went to the bathroom, and they didn't see whether Rachel took the beach route or headed towards a shortcut through a wooded area. The two of them then walked the beach, thinking that their parents were definitely going to know that they didn't spend the day at the beach, considering how bad the weather was. While they were walking, Aaron asked Maddie, "Where's Rachel? I don't see her." The girls spent anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes in the bathroom, and so Rachel couldn't possibly have been that far ahead. They kind of just brushed it off though and thought that maybe she made it already. When the girls reached their destination, or Carlin Park, some friends walked up to them asking where Rachel was, that her mom was looking for her. Aaron and Maddie were very scared because they thought that they were going to get caught for being on the boat. So it never crossed their minds that Rachel could have been missing. They just wanted to pretend that they were at the beach all day to not get in any trouble. Aaron's mom eventually picked her and Maddie up, and then brought them back to Aaron's house. While they were there, they were still going on about being caught when all of a sudden the phone rang. It was Rachel's mom, Andrea, asking, "Where's Rachel?" Aaron told Andrea that they were down by the inlet, and then Rachel ran ahead to meet her, but they haven't seen her since. About 20 minutes passed, and Andrea called the girls again, this time asking what Rachel was wearing. Something was obviously wrong. Aaron's mother then drove the girls back to Carlin Park to meet up with Andrea. While they were there, they used the payphones to call everyone they knew to put together a search party. About 75 people showed up to help. At about 5 p.m., the police were also called, but they weren't really of any help in the beginning of the search. Friends of Rachel's family said that the police and media may have been on the scene, but they weren't helping with the search. Some of the officers were actually just sitting in their patrol cars, and some friends say that deputies didn't arrive until after the search was over. Now, supposedly, when the police were notified, the search was launched with 100 deputies, 2 boats, 1 helicopter, 8 deputies, and 3 canine units. So as to what actually happened there, I'm not too entirely sure. Also, a newscaster was there, but he wasn't willing to help search. But he wanted to talk to them a little later about some devastating news. At about 8:15 p.m. on March 17th of 1990, Rachel Hurley was found deceased in a wooded area of Carlin Park with some of her clothes scattered nearby. Where she was found, she would never go, and most locals wouldn't as they knew the area. This particular spot was known for attracting homeless people or transients. Aaron's father had came out of the woods and said, "Everybody gather round. We found her." Everybody breathed a sigh of relief when all of a sudden he said, "But we think she's dead." After that, it was quoted as being a horror, a real horror. I'm not going to go into the exact details of what occurred to Rachel, but as far as we know, it involved asphyxiation and she had no cuts, bruises, or any signs of injury. The detectives immediately began an investigation after this discovery. A teenager who was at Jupiter Park on Saturday the 17th said that he saw a bare-chested man with scratch marks on his chest emerging from a palmetto scrub area near where Rachel's body was found. The teenager gave the detectives a pretty detailed description of the man. This man was described as having dark blonde hair and a beard, around mid-30s, about 6'2", nearly 150 pounds, wearing construction boots and blue jeans. The police were about to begin a very long, continued process of trying to figure out who Rachel's killer is. The following day, or March 18th of 1990, the police searched nearly 8 miles of woods and beach for any possible evidence. They didn't find much, but they did find something. In a garbage can about 200 feet from where Rachel's body was found, a partially burned, bloody t-shirt was located. So the police ended up matching the blood that was found on the t-shirt to a man named Douglas Gross, or Doug. He was an acquaintance of Rachel's from school, but they didn't really talk. So when investigators went to look into Douglas, he was already in jail for various other reasons and didn't confess to killing Rachel. Plus, there was no physical evidence making him involved. However, a jailmate of Douglas's named Floyd Chastain said that Douglas confessed everything to him. Floyd said that Douglas said him and a friend murdered a young girl in Jupiter. That friend of Douglas's name is Frankie Washburn. The police ended up paying Frankie a visit and arresting him. They told him that Doug Gross knew stuff never released about Rachel Hurley's murder, and so this is how they got the warrant. Frankie said that Doug told them he helped to take advantage of and kill Rachel, that he helped hold her down and bit her on her breasts. The police then took Frankie to a hospital, swabbed his mouth, took his blood, and pulled some hair from his head. Next, they took him to the sheriff's office to question him, and questioned him long enough for them to order a pizza for him to eat. After, they took Frankie to a dental office and had flown in the #2 dental forensic expert in the world. He had impressions taken of all of his teeth, And finally, he volunteered to do a voice analysis and lie detector test to prove his innocence. Frankie passed this test with flying colors. And due to a lack of evidence, Doug wasn't found to be the one responsible. The police looked into about 120 more people, but the only other notable person is a guy named Billy Fagan. Now, who exactly was Billy? William George Fagan III, or Billy, was 17 years old at the time and a sophomore in high school. He had a C average, struggling with classes and attending summer school at least once. Outside of class, Billy played soccer and football for his high school and was very good. He was an avid surfer and adopted into an upper-class family by William Fagan II, who was a Vietnam War veteran. Billy had an enormous amount of rage and anger at women for not taking care of him. This is due to his adoptive mother taking some of his siblings and leaving. By the time he was about 7 to 8 years old, he was assaulting their housekeepers and just being a nuisance. Billy was also friends with Rachel, and the year prior, or 1989, he walked with her to the beach nearly every day. Rachel didn't like to walk alone, and if she wanted to go anywhere, normally she'd ask someone to go with her, and if no one would, she wouldn't go. Sadly, the one time she did, something terrible happened. But Billy wasn't exactly a good person. We'll get into that in a moment. When police questioned him about Rachel, he told them that he was surfing in 3 counties over. A receipt also showed that Billy had rented 2 movies at 2:35 p.m. in a Juno Beach store. So his alibi was pretty solid. Billy told investigators that when he heard about what happened to Rachel, he cried. The reason that the police looked into him, though, was because of what he supposedly did to a bunch of other girls and one boy, with 2 of them being at the same place Rachel disappeared. Billy was accused of assaulting a dozen teenagers and charged with 31 offenses, which included 16 counts of lewd assault, a few counts of sexual battery, some battery charges, false imprisonment, robbery, and petty theft. Shortly after this, he ended up dropping out of school because of how much he was being harassed. But Billy was let off in the case of Rachel Hurley due to a lack of evidence. Only a year later, when he was 18, he was charged with a 16-year-old. Billy said he was too drunk to remember the night after he encountered the police and got into a fight with them and became an emotional roller coaster. He was crying uncontrollably, asking for help one moment, the next begging to die in peace, and the moment after that, he was spitting, cursing, and bragging about being on drugs. Billy was 2.5 times over the legal limit of alcohol and confessed to using cocaine and LSD. Then in 2002, he was accused of tying up a 6-year-old boy and molesting the boy's 8-year-old sister, both of whom he was babysitting, and also received a gun charge. Billy was sentenced to a 15-year prison term, so it's very clear that he continued to become a worse person. Other than these few people I mentioned, and the 120 plus other people that were interviewed, as of now, there hasn't been a break in the case of Rachel Hurley. Today, the day that I'm releasing this video, marks 33 years since her life was viciously taken for no reason at all. In these past 33 years, unfortunately, nothing has came from the investigations, and nobody knows who actually did it. There's a good amount of theories and speculations, like why was the t-shirt bloody and how was it linked to Doug? Also, did they really interview Billy Good? But I'm just not too sure. Rachel has good friends though, and people in her community that are still wanting this to be solved. One of her best childhood friends, Sherry, the one who Rachel played the Ouija board with, has been proactively trying to figure out who's responsible for a long time now. She's dedicated to finding out, and with the help of the detective on the case, William Springer, I really hope that they figure it out. As of right now, the police apparently have physical evidence, but there's no DNA profiles matching. So hopefully the person responsible is still alive. Also, apparently, the police botched a lot of DNA evidence, and that's partially the reason as to why there hasn't been any breaks in the case. Hopefully that's not true. The detectives believe that Rachel did not go back into the woods willingly, that she was forced. They don't know if she knew the person or if it was someone random. Now, Rachel's family doesn't even talk about her case anymore and just hopes that one day it'll be solved. Her sister, Erica, wonders what life would have been like had Rachel grown up and had children. I'm sure that she would have been a great mom and had awesome children, and it's very sad that she never got to see that day. Her father, Dan, ended up suddenly passing away on February 23rd of 2019 at age 77 while coaching his grandson's lacrosse game. It's awful that he died without knowing what happened to his daughter. Rachel Karen Hurley was a vivacious, bright, young, and sassy girl who really had the rest of her life ahead of her. She was trying so hard to not get in trouble and be on time for her mother because she knew that it was important. It's so upsetting knowing that whatever path she took was the last one she'd take, and that if she went to the bathroom with her friends, she could have still been here. And what ifs are always so crappy. If you were in Carlin Park on the day of March 17th of 1990 and you have any information, please call Detective Springer at 561-688-4013. This is a case that I would love to see one day finally be solved, and for her friends and family to get the closure that they so utterly deserve. The closure that Rachel herself deserves. Rest in peace, Rachel Karen Hurley. I hope you're resting peacefully. But anyways, thank you for watching this episode of High Time Crime. If true crime is your thing, then please subscribe and hit the like button because that's all we do. I also have a second account with my brother named Horrifying where we tell stories about everything paranormal. This includes true crime, mysteries, and things that are just downright spooky. I'd greatly appreciate if you subscribe to that too. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care, friend.